Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we are going to be ranking the best Galaxy Opal cards in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM here on this tier list. I got 48 of the best Opals in my team, and that is the maximum number of cards that it would allow me to upload on Tier Maker due to the file size. Kind of annoying that that's how this worked, but I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. Not a ton I can really do about that. And so I apologize if there's any cards I leave off the list. I know there's like 184 opals I looked in the game. So there's probably a lot of guys that I left off this list that y'all would be interested about. And feel free to leave a comment. I'll try to get back to y'all, let y'all know where I'd rank these cards. But without further ado, let's hop right into it. We get to start with Muggsy Bogues, which is awesome because I love Muggsy. Now, is he a good card? No. In our hearts, he's S tier. He does have Patty Mills base, but he's 5'3". Therefore, he is D tier, and we are going to put him in the D tier because that is where he actually goes. With that being said, Muggsy can be very fun to use. He does have Patty Mills base and perfect sigs, which makes offensively him a very fun card to use at times, and he can even dunk the ball. So he could definitely be a fun meme card to use, but he's definitely one of the worst cards on this list as well. Gary Payton is C tier. He's honestly arguably D tier because his release isn't great. His sigs could be better. He's a good defender, but he's only 6'4". Not gonna lie, even among these opals, I think he's one of the worst ones. So we're gonna put him. We'll put him C. I don't think I'm quite going deep, but I'm putting C. Obviously, Tony Kukoc is S tier. He's one of the best Galaxy Opals in the game. He might be the best Galaxy Opal in the game. In fact, I'd probably say he is. He is absolutely phenomenal across the board. Elite level release, perfect sig, 6'11" at the shooting or at the small forward position. Phenomenal card. Size, animation, everything wise. He is just a great, great card. Mo Pete is one of the best Galaxy Opal shooting guards in the game. His release is phenomenal. He moves quite well, and he's a solid defensive card, if not exceptional as well. Good card, A tier for sure. Al Horford's release is terrible, and he's undersized at the big man spot. Al Horford's a great player in real life, and I'm glad he finally won a ring. Congrats to Al. But at the same time, he's D tier for sure. Dominique Wilkins. I don't hate him. He's 6'8", curry slide, big player build, decent sigs, decent release actually too, athletic and not a bad defender. I don't think he's a bad card. You could probably go C, but I actually kind of like him. I'm going B. I think he's solid. Mike Miller's like a slightly worse Morris Peterson in my opinion. They're pretty close to each other though. They pretty much give you about the same thing, and I think when it comes to opal shooting guards, they're definitely two of the better ones. At the same time, I still probably go one tier lower than Mo Pete with Mike Miller. I'm going to go B. I like the card. I still think, I mean, his release is really good, but I'm going to go B. You know who I did not include on this list, I'm pretty sure, by the way, who maybe I should have, is Kyle Korver, who would probably be also B tier, so just keep that in mind as well. Cam Johnson, have not used this card. It's the honest truth, but I think his release is pretty good. He's like, what, 6'8" at the small forward position. Card doesn't look terrible on paper. He's just not amazing, but I don't think I've used this card. He's athletic. He's a good shooter. He's got solid defense, off-movable enforcer. Not bad, 6'8". Yeah, he's not a bad card. We'll go B tier. I think that's pretty good. Kevin Huerter, nice release, not much else. Undersized the shooting guard position. Just not an elite level card at this point in the year. Going D tier. I want to put Laurie A tier because he's 7 foot at small forward with a good release, and I really honestly am tempted to. I'm looking at this list and I'm like, A tier or B? He's not a good enough shot creator. I'm going B tier, but he's a darn good card. I think he's super solid. Duncan Robinson is slept on at the shooting guard position, but he's not any better than Mike Miller and Dominique Wilkins. I mean, they're about the same card. They all are solid, not insane. I think putting him B tier is fair as well. We got a lot of B tier cards so far, but that is a fair spot for him. LeBron James, the free opal LeBron, who is basically a clone of his domination reward at this point in the game with the way LeBron's release is. I actually think you probably have to go C tier, believe it or not. I mean, when you look at this opal LeBron, he's got great stats, but his animations aren't elite. I mean, they could be better. His stats are pretty good. Batters are pretty. He's not C tier. He's B tier. I got a lot of B tier guys. Maybe Cam Johnson gets moved down. Nah, Dominique has to because his release isn't great. We're going Dominique in C tier. I think this is the fairest way to do that so far. Obviously, Shaq can't shoot a 3-ball. Therefore, he's automatically D tier. That card stinks. That's a no-brainer. Michael Jordan's release is bad, so honestly, his release is terrible, so he's D tier. I really don't like his release at all at the shooting guard position, and I think there are a lot of better shooting guards. Like, I don't think he's as good as Dominique Wilkins by any means, so I'd put him C. Wemby is A tier, not quite S, but he's really good because he's 7'4" with his release on very quick, and he's got solid stats and badges. He's like his Pink Diamond with better stats and badges, but the 7'4" player build with solid stats and badges is good enough to give him a lot of value at the center position, so we're going A for him. Larry Bird is one of the worst opals in the game. That card is awful. The free Larry Bird is not any good, so we're going D tier with him as well. And then we got T-Mac, who does not have anchor, a movable enforcer, or brick wall. Also does not have changed sigs, but he is a 6'8" shooting guard with a solid release and good offensive stats and badges. C tier, low C is probably fair, but not an amazing card. Braun's going to go A tier. This is the better Braun, the viable opal Braun, or the gambling opal Braun, I should say. He's not viable. But he's A tier at this point. He's probably not S anymore. As good as Braun is, I think that's probably the right spot for him, is that A tier. Boban's going to go C. He's 7-4, but his release isn't... I mean, his release actually isn't bad. He's like a worse Wemby. Is he 2 tiers worse than Wemby, though? Or am I putting Wemby too high? I don't really know. I'm going to leave it like this for right now, but this feels a little wrong. We'll see. I might come back to this and move Boban up or down or something. Actually, I'll leave Boban in B tier for right now because he is 7-4, and his release is actually pretty good. I think Mo Bamba is one of the best opals in the game. Really like that card. He moves phenomenally well. He's basically like 95% of what Bol gives you at, as a viable power forward with a great wingspan. Like, he's a really good card. Big fan of Mo Bamba. Artis Gilmore's my favorite opal big in the game. He has a very, very smooth release when it comes to center specifically. Mo Bamba's my favorite opal power forward. Artis Gilmore's my favorite opal center. Really big fan of that card as well. Obviously S tier. Ron Artest is actually available for free right now, and he is very close to his Dark Matter. He is also one of the very best opals in the game. Incredible SIGs, elite defender, super complete stats and badges, especially for an opal. He is a top tier card who is definitely S tier as well. I think Darius Miles is limited by his release more than anything else. He just doesn't have a very good jumper. Because outside of that, he's not a bad card. But Jared Allen base isn't top tier. His SIGs could be... I mean, the SIGs aren't bad, I guess. I don't know. He's 6'9", good defender. He's not C. I'm tripping. He's almost A, but he's probably B. I don't like his release very much, so we're going to go B with him. Corey Maggetti's jump shot is amazing. Like, amazing. When I used that card, I was so impressed by him. He's like a better... Well, he's similar to Mike Miller, Duncan Robinson. I think he's better, though, because he's more versatile defensively. I'm putting him A tier. I like Corey Maggetti a lot. Dorian Finney-Smith, one of my favorite viable small forwards in the game for sure. Really nice release, good SIGs. Fan of that card as well. I think a low A is probably fair for him. Domantas Sabonis is 7-1. That's about the only value the card has, though. He can shoot the ball okay, but his stats and badges could certainly use some improvement. I'm not a huge fan of him. He's like low C to high D for me. Clint Capella, if he could shoot the 3-ball better, would be a lot higher because I don't hate his release, but I do think his limitations as only 6'10" at the center spot and a 6'9" 3-ball, they hurt the card. He's a good card, though. I don't think he's terrible. I think he'd be a lot higher than C tier if he had a higher 3-ball rating, but probably C at this point in the game, especially at his size. Joe Ingles' release is awful. He is D tier because his release sucks. I mean, it's pretty simple. When you have an awful release at this point in the year, you're going to go in the D tier. But Robert Parrish, kind of like Shaq, can't shoot. He's better than Shaq, but he still can't shoot, so therefore he's D tier. Arvydas Sabonis is not a card I'm a big fan of, but he's not as bad as the bigs in D tier, so I'm going C tier with him. He's 7'3" at least, but I don't think he's a great card. I don't like his release. He's kind of slow. Not a big fan. Nick Batum. He's a 6'8" point guard, but with a bad release. Good SIGs, to be fair. And the size at point guard is hard to argue with at 6'8", which is why I will go low B. I don't like his release very much, though, and that almost makes me want to put him C. Y'all know me. I don't like bad releases. It's just something that annoys me big time. Some people, it doesn't bother them as much, but like I feel like it's a huge flaw, especially at this point in the year. I like D-Live. Do I like him enough to go A tier? I don't think so. I think I got to go B with D-Live as well. Like, if he was 2 inches taller, I'd put him to A tier, but as he is, he's a big, versatile, athletic center, but his release could be a bit better. I mean, he's not a big playmaker either. He's B tier. I think that's fair. Roy Hibbert's really good. He's better than Wemby, honestly. He's high A, I think. I don't know if I would go S with him, but he's real close. Like, I do actually really like him. I think he's a very solid card. Brandon Podziemski is an awesome 3-hunting guard. Is he good enough to go A tier? I don't think so because his defense is pretty mediocre, but offensively, he's a fun, very solid card. Would go B tier with him for sure. Batum is going to move down. I don't like it. I'm moving Batum down. I think that's fair. Herb Jones, also A tier, but for slightly different reasons than, well, he's worse than Mo Pete. He's probably worse than Maggetti. Is he on the... Well, he's more on the Mike Miller level than he is on those guys, I think. As much as I do like Herb Jones, I'd probably go B tier with him. He's not quite A. He's good, but I think Cam Reddish is a little better. He gives you the same amount of defense, more offense, in my opinion. Just a little bit more overall ability. For me, Cam Reddish is more of an A tier shooting guard, and Herb Jones is more of a B tier. Keegan Murray is one of the most slept-on opals in the game. That card is phenomenal. Really good release. Does pretty much everything well on the court, and he's not huge, but he is really good. I think he's overall one of the better small forwards in the game for sure. Definitely A tier. Kobe White. Speaking of incredibly slept-on cards, Kobe White. I don't think I ever did a gameplay on this card, and that was my fault, honestly, because he is a dog. 6'5", not horrible size, by the way. Amazing badges across the board, even gold removable enforcer. Really good stats, but also a great release and top tier 6. He is one of the best point guards in the game, especially among opals. He might be the best opal point guard. I mean, he's definitely in the discussion. He's probably not the best. He's probably the second best. Well, maybe the third best, because Cade Cunningham is S tier. I don't care that Cade is a little bit outdated. Kind of like Ron Artest. His animations are just so good, such a nice release. His fade isn't good, but everything else is great. Great SIGs, great animation still, really good card. Opal Cade is still Probably the second best Opal point guard in the game. I'd go S for him. Also would go S for Rocco. Love this card as a brand new 3-and-D shooting guard with a good release. Athletic, great SIGs. He's really good. Big fan of Rocco as well. He's my favorite viable shooting guard in the game right now. Kobe. Okay, I'm making a video on this tomorrow, just letting y'all know. I think 2K did lose Kobe's rights. So we're going to talk about that more in a video tomorrow. This is the last Kobe card we've gotten. And he is, I think, still S tier when it comes to opals. Like, his animations are really good. His release is great. His fade is awesome. He's still Kobe. He's not even attainable in any way because they haven't put him in promo packs or super packs or anything. Like, Kobe hasn't been available for months. And I'm going to talk about that more in a video tomorrow because I think it's worth bringing attention to. And I think it might be one thing where I actually might have to apologize to 2K slightly for what I said about the collector level stuff. But still, we'll talk about that in another video. Tobias Harris is a great shooter, mediocre defender, doesn't do a ton at the ball in his hands. I'd go high C for him. Not bad, but I think he's probably worse than like a Cam Johnson. So C is probably fair. Danny Ferry's an awesome card. He's 6'10 with a great release. That type of size is valuable. He's a card I've kind of forgotten about on small forward lists recently, but he is a borderline top 10 small forward in the game still. Outside of Kukoc, he's the best free small forward on this list. Not free small forward, Opal small forward, I should say, on this list. Really, really good card. Jared Vanderbilt. I'm going A with him because his release, while I like it, is not unbelievably great, but he's got great SIGs. He's an elite defender. He's got a big player ability. He's a great slasher. I think he's a really good card. I think very, very solidly fits into the A tier. Anthony Simons is literally Brandon Pajemski 2.0, maybe a little more athletic, but they're both amazing offensive cards who are not good defensively, but very fun to use. And I think he deserves to be B tier because of that. PJ Washington is another good card at the small forward position. I like him a lot. I think he's probably same level as a DFS or a Braun. These guys at the small forward position, Vanderbilt, like all these guys are pretty similar level. So I like putting him there, and I think that's a pretty fair slot for him, to be honest, is in this A tier, towards the back of the A tier. But I still think he's a very, very solid card. And then we have Sean Livingston, who is a 6'7 point guard with a nice release, who is solid defensively. Like, I do think he's good enough for A tier. Not unbelievable, but good enough for A tier. And Doug Christie does deserve an S tier spot. Probably, in my opinion, the best Galaxy Opal point guard in the game. Great defender, all the key badges, all the key animations, and a great release. He is a really, really good card who is, I think, kind of slept on at the point guard position. He and Kobe White, two guys are definitely overlooked at the PG spot when it comes to these opals. As a whole, I really like this list. I think it turned out pretty good. I'm interested to hear y'all's thoughts, and I know I only got 48 cards on the list. There's a lot of opals that I left off. That's just how it had to be because of the tier maker limits to file size and stuff like that. So I apologize for that. But with that being said, I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.